don't worry. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Trying to do my check. Abigail will join. She's joining shortly. But I just want to be clear, or sure everybody can hear us. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, great. Thank you, DDG. Thank you, Ms. Maliri. Thank you very much for everyone participating. Yeah, joining the call. Abigail, she's joining like now as we speak. She had a little bit glitch. Yeah, but she's joining shortly. So the to be starting shortly. Maybe we'll just give ourselves like 5 minutes to give room for others to join the call. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining once again. Once joined, we can start, but it's in 12:05. The webinar can commence. Thank you very much, everyone, once again for joining.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Abigail. And
Yes, please. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second edition of the hydrogen webinar themed as low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria, focusing on the progress and the distractions in the market. So before we proceed, can we introduce ourselves in the chat box? Our names, our designation. Can we engage with the chat box? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Adeola. Please kindly introduce yourself in the chat box, your name, your designation, and possibly your contact so that we can briefly start. We can start in the next 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you, Odion. Thank you, Ms. Ife. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Victor. Thank you, Dr. China. Thank you, Ms. Edie. Thank you very much. Okay, so we will just proceed. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Abigail Adaramola. I'm the lead for hydrogen portfolio at Clean Technology Hub. And the theme for this webinar is low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria. So the aim of this webinar is is to provide a platform for discussing the current state of the low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria, development in Nigeria, as well as exploring like the potential for catalyst for hydrogen to be integrated into the energy mix. So basically this webinar seeks to assess majorly the progress. Like I mentioned earlier on, the theme, low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria, and focusing on the progress and distractions. So the webinar aims to assess the progress that we have made so far in terms of policy, in terms of projects. So lots of uptake studies have been made in Nigeria concerning hydrogen development, and lots of technology advancements has been made, such as Lumos Laboratories has gone into innovative ideas for hydrogen production in Nigeria. So the webinar also seeks to also evaluate like possible challenges. So looking at the challenges that are hindering such adoption of hydrogen in Nigeria. So this webinar also seeks to foster dialogue. So we have a couple of stakeholders from the policymakers, industry experts, and from academia, and also CSOs are also here to understand how the market is and also share their insights in addressing the challenges that are around the development of hydrogen in Nigeria. Also, the aim for this webinar is to provide innovative solutions for both local and international context to help like Nigeria move forward in the hydrogen journey. So as well as creating awareness, raising awareness about the potential of low carbon hydrogen and what are the benefits and its essential components into the future energy mix. So basically, like I've mentioned, this webinar, we have lots of stakeholders for the panel discussion, and we also have a keynote speaker that will be speaking on the current state of the hydrogen development in Nigeria and also the African perspective, and also the role for Nigeria in ensuring or maintaining such development in the future. So the conversation will be centered around how can we get more, how can we identify the gaps or challenges, how can we provide solutions to these challenges, how can we identify the progress so far and see where we see our success stories, our challenges, our success stories, as well as our progress so far, so that we can share these insights and see if the respective stakeholders can big role they are meant to play in. So we're in this webinar that will share their insights in this direction. And just before we proceed forward further into the discussion, I would like to introduce Abel Gaia. He will be introducing CTH and giving a brief overview of what we do at Clean Technology Hub. Sorry, Mr. Victor Fagaret. Sorry for the mix-up. I'd like to introduce Mr. Victor to give a brief introduction of what we do at Clean Technology Hub so that we can.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much once again for joining this call. Panelists, we are grateful, and the guest speaker, thank you very much for joining. I'll just say a brief thing about CTH and what we do. Cleantech Hub is a Nigerian premier and also the pioneering hybrid hub in Africa that is focused on advancing energy access, climate change, and also sustainable entrepreneurship across Africa. And we try to achieve this through a number of activities, which include research, market analysis, policy, strategic advisories, training, and also advocacy. Cleantech Hub is also an innovative incubator and accelerator for early year startups in clean energy and also sustainable development. Cleantech Hub is founded in 2016, and we're based in Abuja. And our goal is to build ecosystem and community of practice that influences innovations and also addresses energy poverty, climate change, and sustainable economic development in Africa. Thank you very much, everyone. Do have a nice session.
Thank you, Mr. Desmond, for that. Next up on our agenda is the keynote address, and that will be taken by Dr. China McLean Dikwa. Dr. China is currently the Vice Chairman of the African Energy Council. He's a globally recognized expert in the hydrogen energy with a prolific career spanning for 18 years. He specializes in hydrogen production, electrolyzer development, hydrogen carrier selection, end use in power and fuel cells. He has changed the field with his insightful strategies and innovative solutions. Dr. China has been a key player in numerous major hydrogen export projects worldwide, including initiatives in Africa, Oceania, and the USA, while he showcases his adept knowledge in navigating diverse energy landscape. He currently holds a PhD in hydrogen technology from the University of Birmingham, underscoring his comprehensive understanding of this emerging energy resource. As the Vice Chairman of the African Energy Council, Dr. China tirelessly advocates for sustainable energy practices, channeling his vast experiences to drive the continent towards a cleaner, more efficient future. His profound knowledge and dedicated leadership has made him a trailblazer in the global energy industry. Dr. China's contributions are paving the way for a more sustainable and hydrogen-rich world. Join me as I make welcome Dr. China to give the keynote address.
Abigail, thank you so much for that introduction. Much appreciated. If you don't mind, I will share my screen. I think it's probably much better that way. So for everyone on the call, thank you so much for joining this discussion. It's a great pleasure to be working with the Clean Technology Hub on hydrogen. Looking at hydrogen, how critical it is for the Nigerian state, for Africa as a new resource class and stuff. So I've got this presentation probably about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, and please pardon me if I take questions straight after, because I might have to leave imminently, if that's okay. But I'm going to talk about how to make hydrogen projects bankable. How do you make them bankable? And it's such an important thing. It's not just important for you to have a project. It's important that your project is bankable from the standpoint of does it make sense from an economic standpoint? Okay, how does it compare to, say a gas development project? So hydrogen is an energy vector. So any project that you're doing will be, to produce energy, as it were, electrons or something of that sort. So the question there is, how does it compare to current technologies today? How does it compare to a combined cycle gas turbine plant? How does it compare to a hydro plant, which is where Nigeria gets a lot of its electricity today? How does the hydrogen project compare to that? We have to do it in that context. If not, you won't be able to secure funding for it. You will not be able to get, people to offtake the hydrogen that you're producing. So it needs to be bankable. If it's not bankable, there's no point, basically. Okay. So I'm going to start just to introduce the concept of this. I'll start from Africa and then zoom into Nigeria, if that makes sense. So this 2022, of course, this has changed quite a bit, but this is just a landscape of massive trajectory that hydrogen is on right now. It's developing in a very, very fast way. Most of the countries in Africa right now in 2024 are thinking or undertaking to build a hydrogen project. What I'm showing you here is just a snapshot, and of course, it's a couple of years old. Morocco, as you can see here, are undertaking a hydrogen project with renewable energy capacity of 100 megawatts. So they're producing hydrogen, turning it into green ammonia, and then sending it into Europe. Tunisia are doing the same, again, straight into Europe. Egypt, again, the same. All of these are very close to the European corridor. Europe is a demand center. Okay, it's a demand center, i.e., it's a place where they require hydrogen. Germany have made an open sort of call, for anyone who can produce hydrogen to sort of ship into Germany. You have other countries, part of Egypt, sending it to Asia, Kenya. There are several projects that are running there already. Again, they're targeting the Asian market. You have Namibia, which is a darling child. Today, Namibia is the darling child of hydrogen, much across Africa. And, they're running some really big projects. Namibia Hyphen is one of them, running with the German government. They're looking to send that into Europe. Okay, you have Mauritania again doing the same, sending into Europe, and South Africa, who was the original pioneer. So in Africa, South Africa is the initial godfather of hydrogen, if you like. Still running quite a few projects like Bogobai and others, but generally, this is a very high level landscape of hydrogen and its development across Africa. I've put the lens on Nigeria. So the question there is, what's Nigeria doing? How's it thinking about the hydrogen opportunity? Now, I'm going to caveat this here. If you look at Morocco, they have some gas. You look at Tunisia, again, some gas. Egypt, a lot of gas. Mauritania, a lot of gas resources and oil. Okay, so there's the MSGBC basin for anyone who's in oil and gas. It's a lot of oil and gas that they have. Namibia, again, the same, a huge amount of gas resources, and even South Africa. The reason why I'm pointing this out is because I'm talking about hydrogen from a blanket standpoint. I'm not giving it any color. I'm not saying whether it's green or blue or whatever it is for now, but you would know that from gas, you can turn that into hydrogen, very much so. And that could be the competitive advantage for Nigeria. Okay. Nigeria, in the place where it is, in the northern part of Nigeria, there's a huge amount of land that, can be used for green hydrogen, so using solar or wind to produce that. The challenge with that, of course, is once you produce it there, how do you get it off to the markets that need it? Are you going to truck it all the way, from northern Nigeria into Europe? Of course not. Then economics will not work because it'd be too expensive. Are you going to put the pipeline from northern Nigeria all the way to the south? Of course not, because economics becomes challenged. It's too long of a distance to do that. So that leads you to one thing, which is maybe on the coast here, now the coast of Nigeria. Now, in the coast, do you have enough land? Again, another problem. So the picture I'm trying to paint there is the gas resources, the Niger Delta Basin being a huge gas basin. That could be the opportunity for Nigeria to look at blue hydrogen production, just at a very high level. Okay. Anyway, so just putting that out, selected projects in Africa, Nigerian context. If I just go to the next slide, so this is what I'm going to show you here. So, and you pardon me, and I know I can appreciate that on the call here, there might be a lot of people who are new to hydrogen and how it works and everything around that. Please pardon me. I haven't taken time to go back and describe to you how it works and what the challenges are and all of that stuff. I haven't shown you what it is. I've gone straight into it. But here, what I want to demonstrate to you is that across the hydrogen value chain, okay, when you're looking to make a project bankable, you'd have to look at the project entirely from the start of the project all the way to hydrogen at the end user. Okay, so if you think about it, if Germany is the off-taker, if Germany is the person buying your hydrogen, and again, I'm making this up, then you need to think about that from the point of view of not only hydrogen production in the Delta, in the Niger Delta, but the hydrogen production in the Niger Delta. Okay, and then how do you then store and compress that hydrogen? Okay, how do you then take that hydrogen and convert it into some sort of a transportation form, whether it's liquid hydrogen, which would be around minus 253, so very low temperatures, or it's ammonia, minus 32 degrees centigrade. So slightly lower, but very manageable, and there are many technologies around that. Or a liquid organic hydrogen carrier. So you turn it into this thing that you can put on a ship and then send it all the way to Germany. And all of these things I'm talking about, and so when it gets to Germany, then you need to reconvert. So the moment it hits Germany, unless it's ammonia, then you need to turn that ammonia back from ammonia, NH3, back into hydrogen and nitrogen. So you can take the hydrogen and use. If it's LOHC, then you need to turn it back into hydrogen. If it's liquefied hydrogen, you need to turn it off from minus 253 to room temperature. Okay. But the point I'm trying to make, and I think the important thing is from A to D, if you're looking at my screen, all of these need to work and work really well. By the time it lands at that point of hydrogen conversion, usually the magic number we talk about is $2 per kilogram of hydrogen. So how is your hydrogen production? How is it at, production, step A? How is it at hydrogen storage, again, step B? And then what's the cost of that? And what's it at C, transportation, what's the cost of that? And what's it at D? When you add all of that up, where does it stack up? Very important, to understand that. That's what we call the levelized cost of hydrogen. And guys, please pardon me. I know there are many people who are coming up and are new to this, but technically the overarching thing is you need to look at it end to end from a life cycle standpoint. How do I produce, but how do I land it to my customer? To land it to your customer, there are several steps in between that have to be done. Each of those needs to line up neatly beneath that $2.50 per kilo or $2 per kilo for you to be competitive. Okay, so that's that one. So I suppose what I'm trying to say here is, and when I start actually, so at hydrogen production, there are several things one would need to look at. You need to look at what's your renewable energy source, because you're going to produce hydrogen. So guys, many of you would know this. To produce hydrogen, you need to have your solar panels. If you're doing it based on solar, you have the solar panel, harvest lots of the solar energy. You then pass that through an electrolyzer, which then in the electrolyzer you have water in there. It splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. Then now you have hydrogen, and then you can dry that hydrogen because it comes from water. There's several dehydration systems to dry that hydrogen. So all of that is in step A. What's your hydrogen energy source? Is it wind? Is it solar? Is it hydro? Okay. And if it is each of these renewable energy, then you need to tie that into an electrolyzer. Okay, to make that happen. But you need to also understand what's the quality of the solar. Are you up north where you have huge amounts of solar energy, maybe 9 hours or 8 hours a day, or in the south of Nigeria where the amount of sunshine is probably about 6 or 7 hours? You need to understand the quality of the energy resource. Are you up north again, in the Sahara Desert where there's huge amounts of wind speeds, or are you around Lagos where a lot of the buildings will break the wind speed? You need to understand that, and of course, the electrolyzer was the efficiency, all of that. And then, of course, hydrogen storage. How do you even store the hydrogen that you've produced? So now that you've produced the hydrogen, you've dried it, dehydrated, you now have hydrogen. How do you even store the hydrogen? Do you do it in a, pressurized vessel, which of course means money because it costs money to compress it? Or do you store it on the ground in salt caverns? Or do you store it in depleted gas fields? Several, considerations. And then transportation, what do you use? Do you use ammonia? Do you use liquid organic hydrogen carrier? Do you use a pipeline? Do you liquefy the hydrogen, liquid hydrogen? Each of this, again, has a, sort of a cost. And then, of course, on the other side, to reconvert. So this is the way you got to think about the problem. When you're thinking about hydrogen, we have to work out a levelized cost of hydrogen all the way to the back. Okay. Factors that impact the bankability of green hydrogen projects. What are those factors that impact the bankability of green hydrogen projects? So I'm going back to the same thing. We're talking money now. We're talking about investment. It's not just a case of saying, I want to do green hydrogen and just go to it. Then you lose money. In fact, not just lose money, you wouldn't even get the funding to do that. You need to demonstrate bankability to investors, to the bank, before they can lend you that money. So how do you do that? Okay, what are the factors that affect the bankability of a project? So one is the risk profile of the project. So there are many technical risks, as you can imagine. Things like the electrolyzer. Is it well proven? Is it a very proven electrolyzer? Is it a proton exchange membrane electrolyzer? Is it a solid oxide electrolyzer cell, which is less proven than PEM ones? Is it an alkaline electrolyzer, which has been really proven, and we know how that works really well? So there are the technical aspects of it. Again, even the hydrogen transportation, there are lots of technical aspects. Some of them not entirely proven. Even the hydrogen conversion, reconversion, some of those not entirely proven. So understanding that, and then there are commercial risks in there. And some of those commercial risks, some of them are contractual. Okay, how do you write the contract to make sure that this supplier is responsible for this and he definitely delivers on that? So there are contractual risks, there are operational risks in there, and of course there are environmental risks. All of those are really important and need to be thought about. And I can assure you, whoever's going to lend you money, ask for that. Project execution, really key as well. How do you execute the project? That's so important, very underrated, but very, very important. Okay, how do you execute the project? So let's say, for the sake of argument, it's a 5 million tons hydrogen, 5 million tons hydrogen per annum project. How do you execute that contract? Is it going to be an EPC, so engineering, procurement, and construction? So you do it as a lump sum, okay, a lump sum contract, or are you going to break it down into small aspects? If you break it down into small aspects, then you have you insulate the risk, in some way, in some aspects, but then you open up the risk, the overall project risk. If you give the contract to one person, as an EPC, engineering, procurement, construction, then again, from a developer standpoint, you manage the overall risk. But again, there are complexities. So understanding that and seeing what works and what hasn't worked could be quite important in that case. I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see it here. I'm not going to patronize you, but essentially there's several things that are really important that go into understanding the key factors that affect the bankability of a hydrogen project. What type of electrolyzer? What's the technology readiness level of that electrolyzer? What type of renewable energy source are you looking at? Is it solar? Is it wind? Was the capacity factor? All of these things are super, super important. Okay, project location, very important, probably one of the most important. Yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, I want to do a green hydrogen project, and I want to make it in Ogun State." Why Ogun State? Why so? You have to undertake a whole resource analysis. What's the solar irradiation there? What's the wind capacity there? Is it 5 meters per second? Is it 5.5? Is it 6? You need to work all of that out. Now, once you understand renewable energy capacity, then that drives the project. Okay, that drives the project because you want to go to the area of maximum renewable energy capacity. That has an impact on the cost because if the renewable energy is high, then that means you need less solar panels, you need less wind turbines. So it has an impact on cost as well. Okay, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. So, and again, pardon me, this is I'm going so fast here, but essentially there are a couple of things that are really important. What are some of those factors that affect, the impact, bankability of hydrogen projects in Nigeria or even around? Well, very important. One is cost. Cost is super important. From a cost standpoint, I mean, capital cost, but operating costs as well, very important. What's the total cost of the project? So if you're looking from a solar standpoint, what's the total renewable energy cost, a solar cost panel, for that, from the wind standpoint, looking at that, project delays, pricing, variable price of electricity, how do you deal with that? So if you're going to combine that with, say, the grid, how do you even get that grid connection? At what price? All of that. Could you put the project in a free zone? Could you situate the project in a free zone? Of course, it's possible. But the other question, if you're going to put it in a free zone, why a free zone? Because you get tax breaks. So you don't pay tax on there and you get some subsidies and grants. Very important. But before you situate in the free zone, you have to look at the resource capacity there. Is there even enough wind there? Is there enough solar there? Maybe there's none. Then you can't do that. So these are some of the things you need to look at. contractually, the terms of the contract, like I was talking about, very important. The taxation model, how do you even, undertake the taxation model? Are there any other then offsites? Bear in mind, we're talking about electrolysis for solar, wind, or hydro. So you're passing electricity through water, splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is what you need, but now you have oxygen. That's a good product. Could you sell that as a side stream? Could you sell that to get additional revenue? Okay. Sometimes you have to desalinate the water. When you desalinate, could you sell the excess water out? Several considerations. And of course, decarbonization end of lifetime. So there's several things that are really important that one needs to bear in mind. Okay. Risks that affect the bankability, and again, I've spoken about this quite a lot. Technical risk, the type of electrolyzer. What's the technology readiness level, the TRL level of each? Is it solid oxide electrolyzer cells that are still TRL 4 or 5? Or are these, alkaline electrolyzers that are TRL 9, so very advanced? And they operate right now. And we know that what's the risk profile. If your project is based on a solid oxide electrolyzer cell, TRL 5, the bank may not lend you the money. Okay. Desalination, because most of the time these projects are at the coast. Okay, so just by the sea, so that when you produce, you put them onto a ship and it goes. Water is a problem, so you have to take seawater and desalinate that seawater. Okay, do you have the technology, all of that stuff to do that? Operational risk, staffing risk, do you have the right skill set, people on the ground to get that done? Foreign exchange, we're talking about Nigeria, foreign exchange moves really up and down and all of that stuff, very important. Of course, environmental risks. Okay. Contractual risks, I'm not going to go into this so much, but you understand the point here is, there's huge amount of assessment over the contracts, what's in the contract and what's out. So, the inputs into the contract, things like the green electricity supply contract. So let's assume that the solar plant is a different company. So the people who are going to produce the electricity from solar plants, a different company. You will just buy that electricity from them and then do the desalination. So if you're going to do that, sorry guys, can you give me 1 minute? Pardon me, sorry about that. So if you're going to do that, the question is, how do you structure that contract for it to work? Project investment, long-term operation. I mean, there's several things that are quite important from a contractual standpoint that one needs to think about. Partner risks, very important, so hydrogen is very complex. The project undertaking is very complex. Most of the time, it's not going to be one developer. It'll be several partners will come together. So there's what we call partner risks. How credible is that partner that you're working on? What experience do they have? How was the depth of their operating, even the local environment? What's their credit rating from a financial standpoint? What kind of financial standing do they have? Are they going to go bankrupt? What's their reputation? How are they connected, even politically? Blacklisting, all of them, very important. So what could the cash flow look like of a hydrogen project? What could that look like? This is just a very typical graph. Normally, and again, this is not just hydrogen, this is how most projects look like from a cash flow standpoint. So this is zero. If you're looking at my cursor here, this is 0 point here. Anything in red below the line, anything below zero here, anything in red is a cash outflow. This is money out of your pocket. Okay. So this first three that you're seeing here, this is the capital cost. So normally from year 0, year 1, you spend a lot of money, buy all of the solar panels, and all of that. That's year 1. You buy all of those, and probably year 2 as well. Year 2, maybe you buy the panels again, and you probably buy some inverters that you need, some batteries. So you spend the first 3 years just buying all the things to build the plant. So year 1, this is FID, final investment decision. So now you've decided to make your final investment decision. You spend 3 years buying all of the things so that you build the product. When you buy them, then you start building and constructing. So the first 3 years is literally building that whole project from zero. Yeah, you clear the site, you buy the panels, you put them down, you get your inverters, get your batteries, get your electrolyzer cells, get your storage facilities, build everything through. After year 3, most of the times that's when you start to produce. So what you can see here in green, this is revenue. What is the revenue? This is the hydrogen that you have sold. Hydrogen that you sold multiplied by the quantity gives you the revenue. So there you go. You're producing hydrogen from year 4, 5, 6, all the way. But bear in mind, when you're producing this hydrogen, there are costs as well associated with it. You have people working on the plants to help you produce the hydrogen. So what you can see there in year 4, the one below, the red one there, all the red below that, the small red ones, these ones here, these are the operating costs, the people costs, and the power costs, and all of that stuff that are required for you to produce the hydrogen. The net between the revenue and the cost, that's what gives you your profitability and the margin. And of course, at the end, this one that you can see that's checkered here, this black one here, that's the decommissioning cost. When you finish the whole thing after 25 years or however many years, you can't just walk away and leave the whole plant and just abandon it. You have to decommission. That becomes a rule. You have to take everything, all pipelines you put, all solar panels, take them off, go and dispose them off correctly. Okay. So this is the typical cash flow of a hydrogen project. This is what it normally looks like. They're very inventive, ways to deal with contracting. In Nigeria and other places, this is CFD model. This is used in the UK quite a lot. I'm not going to go into it, so much, but I'll just conclude right now. So, how to make hydrogen projects bankable? How do you make them bankable in Nigeria? One, strategic positioning. So we have to look at, the first thing is to look at the areas with the best renewable energy capacity or the best gas resource. Solar, you look at the sites with the best solar radiation, the best wind speeds, the best hydro facilities. In fact, if you can find a site that has the best of all these three together, that's a real win for you, because you can do a project with all three of them combining together, and that will drop your cost very, very effectively. Okay, if you can find that, a place with these great resources, and it is close to the person who wants to buy it from you, even better. Okay, close to your off-taker. So that's normally where it becomes challenged. That's the main problem, actually. Sometimes you find the best place for renewable energy, but it's located so far away from the off-taker. Okay, and it becomes a real problem. Then your cost again doesn't work so well. Strategic partnerships, really important. How do you develop real partnerships that return value? So important. How do you get some of the best players, the best financiers who have a lot of experience? Really important. Okay. And then the other thing is secure long-term offtake contracts. Get somebody who says, you know what, I'm going to buy hydrogen from you for 20 years. And then they sign up that agreement and mobilize you. Really important. Seek grants and subsidies, sell byproducts, like oxygen and all of that. Anyway, sorry guys, I've rushed this because I've got to go. But it's really, really good to present this to you. I hope it made sense, and I hope I haven't fully confused anyone. And yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions if any of you would have it.
Thank you so much, Dr. China. Thank you very much for your insights. And thank you also for highlighting the need for partnership and the need for grant applications and subsidies in the area of cost reduction for hydrogen. So I would like to introduce, up next, I would like to introduce Ms. Dosun, the Director of Programs at Clean Technology Hub. She'll be introducing the panelists for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Abigail. Good day, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Chinan, for that wonderful presentation. You had asked if there were any questions that you would like to take. Because of time, we are hoping that people can write down their questions in the chat box if they have any. We'll make sure that the questions get to Dr. Chinan, and then he's able to provide answers, which we will give hopefully at the end of the session. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Sorry, I can't put on my video because then the network switches, and I don't want that to happen. This topic is a topic that is not well known in Nigeria, and I'm very glad that my team is, pushing this forward in the country. Low carbon hydrogen has been talked among us here in the organization, and it is something that, first of all, we would like to kind of create an awareness on, and then hopefully see how we can project our voices to get the financial support that we would need to create hubs or production plants towards this. So I wouldn't even, because Dr. Chinan has probably spoken a lot about, I had written down a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, but he has said almost everything. And so I'm just going to go ahead for lack of time, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the moderator, and she would be the one to eventually go ahead and introduce the speakers that will be taking this session. So again, thank you very much for joining us. So the moderator for today's session, her name is Ms. Adiola Ijoma Eleri, who I'm hoping will become a very good friend of mine after this program. She's the Chief Scientific Officer and Head Solar Division in the Department of Renewable Energy. She's a renewable energy specialist with the focus on environment, climate change, and gender mainstreaming. Her career in renewable energy spans research, project management, training, and advocacy. She's a specialist in market development for renewable energy services with a special focus on women. Adiola works at the Energy Commission of Nigeria, where she holds the position of the Chief Scientific Officer and Head Solar Division in the Department of Renewable Energy. Help me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Adiola as she goes ahead to conduct the panel session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dosun, for the introduction. And I'd like to say thank you to Abigail for putting this together. I also like to thank Dr. China for his very comprehensive presentation on hydrogen. I'll go right away into introducing our panelists, and then I'll start with a short intro on our webinar for today. I have as the first, ladies first, I'll be introducing Ms. Aisha Suleiman. She's an energy and communications professional and holds a master's in energy and green hydrogen technology. She is committed to addressing climate change, and this is evident in her work as the co-founder of MAGREEN. MAGREEN is an organization that focuses on creating climate change awareness for young people in Africa. She has several articles in the energy and climate change space. And in a bid to close the energy gap, she has written quite a bit on this. Her hobbies include writing, traveling, and speaking to young people about career development and personal branding. The next person is Mr. Ayodeji Stefan. He is the Senior Hydrogen Research Fellow at the African Energy Council. Ayodeji is a dedicated professional driving the transition to sustainable energy and reducing carbon emissions in transportation. With experience at the International Power to X Hub, he developed innovative solutions for green hydrogen production and promoted electric mobility. Currently, he's pursuing his PhD at Dublin State University. His research focuses on hydrogen potential for decarbonizing transportation. With over 4 years of experience, he has collaborated with organizations globally, and he serves as a policy advisor, project manager, and a researcher. Our third panelist is Mr. Adedeji Adetoyi, who is a business development executive. He's a young Nigerian researcher, climate action and sustainability advocate with a vast experience in clean energy and climate. He holds a bachelor degree in meteorology and climate science and a master's degree in renewable energy. Currently, he is the business development executive for Poda Green Consulting. He's also the program lead for Women for Green Jobs Initiative. The last but not the least is engineer Bolaji Fulani Sulu. He's the Director, Energy Management Department he's the Director of Energy Management at the Energy Commission of Nigeria. Ibrahim Sulu is an energy policy expert with focus on integrated and evidence-based energy policy and planning. In the quest for quality outcomes and inclusive solutions, he emphasizes knowledge passion, justice, and diligent deep diving. He's also the chairman of the Hydrogen Committee at the Energy Commission of Nigeria. He has over 10 years experience in public communication and community development from Ukraine and 17 years in energy policy and planning in Nigeria. He has designed and executed projects on energy efficiency, energy audit, energy manpower, and household energy consumption. He is also a keynote speaker, coach. He has served as panelist, keynote speaker, coach, resource person, and delegates in different energy conferences and events all around the world. He is a community volunteer, an education manager, and a youth mentor. He holds a BSc degree in mechanical engineering from the National Technical University of Ukraine. So I would like all of us to welcome our panelists to this discussion today. You are all welcome. I'm going to give a short intro into our discussion, and then I would like our panelists, the way I introduced them, to just say a 1 minute intro on their jobs before we go into the questions. So like I said before, thank you to Dr. China for the foundation to this discussion. The incorporation of low carbon technologies like blue and green hydrogen into Nigeria's energy landscape is not just important, it's inevitable. Nigeria faces a high rate of energy poverty, with over 50% of households considered energy poor. Additionally, at least half of our population, almost half, when we say 45%, lack access to electricity. And we have a staggering 89% that lack access to clean cooking energy. So low carbon hydrogen presents a compelling solution to some of these challenges, and it offers a sustainable path for development. Beyond addressing energy poverty, low carbon hydrogen is crucial for enhancing energy security, utilizing the abundant natural renewable energy resources we have, for mitigating climate change, and also fostering economic development. The inclusion of low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria's energy transition plan underscores the potential of hydrogen as a key driver of sustainable development. However, the main obstacle to the development of hydrogen, and low carbon hydrogen especially, lies in the economic viability. Our presentation from Dr. China has highlighted some of these economic challenges and the cost that surrounds the cost of low carbon hydrogen. So this raises the central question for today's webinar. What are the potentials of low carbon hydrogen development for Nigeria? Is it a worthwhile endeavor? Does it divert attention from our goal of sustainable development? This is what we want to talk about today. For us to answer this properly, we need to analyze the cost benefits and the potential impacts of low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria. The need for partnerships and collaboration has been mentioned, and I also would like to emphasize that this webinar is one of such collaboration. We hope we have more. So with this introduction, I would like to call on Ms. Aisha Suleiman to just in 2 minutes summarize what she does, and then we can go into with the others also. Yes. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ms. Adiola, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. It's such a great honor to be here discussing low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria specifically. My name is Aisha Suleiman, and as rightly introduced, I am an energy and communication professional, and I currently serve as the co-founder for MagGreen. And what we do at MagGreen is climate change awareness and promoting renewable energy solution. And on a personal level, my work spans across research and communication, and also like creating of social media content just to close the gap that exists between, the knowledge that exists about climate change, energy transition, and even in the hydrogen space. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
Mr. Ayodeji, in 2 minutes, please, can you tell us how your work links with hydrogen, your interests on low carbon hydrogen?
All right, thank you so much. You know, it's a funny thing that I'm coming back to speak for Clean Technology Hub. My journey into the hydrogen space actually started at Clean Technology Hub. Thank you, Ms. Ife, for giving me the privilege a couple of years back. So I started with research in hydrogen with Clean Technology Hub, then leading the hydrogen portfolio. Was that time I've started looking into policies, supporting some strategic developments around Nigeria and also other countries. I worked with Dr. Chinan, who just made this presentation. Sorry about the background noise. I'm in a conference. So my work basically is to support the development of low carbon hydrogen across several planes. Europe, mostly Europe and Africa, in terms of project development, conducting research, policy advisory. So yeah, that's what I do in my day-to-day activity. So mostly advisory.
So Mr. Adedeji Adetoyi, can you, 2 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, thank you once again. My name is Adetoyi Adedeji. I'm the Business Development Executive for Podable Consulting. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
Thank you. I'm the Business Development Executive for Podable Consulting. Podable Consulting is a renewable energy firm here in Nigeria. Just the consulting arm of A4 Anti-Power Solutions. And basically, what drives me to hydrogen has to do with the investment part of hydrogen, which I was part of the first hydrogen summit here in Nigeria, which we partook of it, and with us to do with hydrogen training, with us to be breaking down of how well can we invest in hydrogen and how well hydrogen can really suit in within Nigeria process. And that's how I will the first make a particular hydrogen, and which has probably made it create more interest in developing feasibility studies within Nigeria, and also working alongside with the Nigeria German office with regards to workshops and the likes, which pertain to hydrogen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'd like to call on engineer Sulu, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. First is to thank the organizer, the Clean Technology Hub, for this platform. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, so I think at the beginning, I've been introduced what I do. So what I want to say is just the Energy Commission of Nigeria, what we do here, the Energy Commission of Nigeria. We are mandated or have the responsibility for strategic planning and coordination of national policies in the field of energy in all its ramifications. So our activity cut across all the energy types, both at the supply end and consumption end. So like relating this to hydrogen, hydrogen has the supply side and the application side. So here we have two departments that are primarily responsible for this. We have the Department of Energy Management, which is for the end use side, and we have the Renewable Energy Department, which is for the supply side. Currently trying to understand the hydrogen and how it works and what are the prospects. The first step is that we have a committee in place that is studying the hydrogen trend, so that at the end we'll be able to come up with a plan that's workable and appropriate for Nigeria to develop its hydrogen market. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll go right into the discussion. Mr. Ayodeji, what do you think are Nigerian government's directions on low carbon hydrogen initiatives? And this is in comparison to other African countries. So let's compare. We could use, for instance, the countries that were in the presentation we just saw. What's our directives? What's our direction on low carbon?
Okay, so I have answered this question, I've gotten this question quite a number of times. I think one of the first things we need to do in Nigeria is we need to establish our own hydrogen strategy. There has never been any country in Africa that is doing well There is no country in Africa that is doing well in terms of hydrogen that does not have an hydrogen strategy. The challenge currently when it comes to hydrogen strategy is that I hope that the Energy Commission of Nigeria would take on this responsibility. I mean, the director just said that they are doing an understudy. I hope that the understudy leads us to where we now begin to think about it. You know, Adedeji is my friend. We speak behind closed doors about hydrogen development in Nigeria. And there was a time we were having a conversation thinking about, oh, is the German Nigerian hydrogen office doing some study? I mean, is the contact point when it comes to German Nigerian hydrogen office? And we were hoping that they were doing something, and it's been over a year now, we have still not seen anything publicly. So it's either there is a challenge, maybe something is slow, or something is not being done right. Because the hydrogen office has been for, I think, about 3-4 years now, and we still don't have a hydrogen strategy. So first of all, I would say we need to create our own hydrogen strategy. And I can tell why the hydrogen strategy is not ready. I can guess why. Because a whole lot of monopoly actually revolves around the German Nigerian hydrogen, which is not supposed to be so. I'm grateful that UNIDO is coming into the country, and they are looking heavily into hydrogen. In fact, they have a dedicated funding towards hydrogen in Nigeria. I'm grateful. I hope that power can be decentralized, because when it comes to hydrogen, you need a lot of money, you need a lot of expertise, and you need a lot of technical know-how and willingness to engage with stakeholders. And when it comes to hydrogen, the kind of stakeholder engagement that's needed is more like a very industry-wide one, because when you think about the application of hydrogen, you need to consult a lot of people, even the safety aspect, the sensitization that needs to be done, the kind of information that needs to be put out for people to even understand it. And I understand when people think about hydrogen, people say hydrogen is dangerous. Yes, I agree. But so is gas. In fact, gas has killed more people than nuclear power has. But people trust gas than they trust nuclear power. So it means that it's because of the kind of information that has been put out. So I would say that we need to first establish our hydrogen strategy. Then we need to decentralize the development of hydrogen outside of one organization. And I'm grateful for organizations like the Nigerian Energy Commission taking up responsibility in that front.
Thank you. Okay. I hear what you say. I think the responsibility for this strategy should come from us. The German Nigerian hydrogen office can try to participate in the discussion, but we have the responsibility to develop our hydrogen strategy. I'd like to call on Ms. Aisha Suleiman. What are the challenges and opportunities we have in scaling up low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria? How do you think we can overcome these challenges, and what are the opportunities we need to harness in this direction?
Thank you very much for that question. So firstly, before I answer, I think I need to establish that when you're talking about low carbon hydrogen, we talk about green hydrogen, which is produced from renewable energy electricity, electrolysis using renewable energy electricity, and then blue hydrogen, which is like from natural gas with carbon capture and utilization, and then also pink hydrogen, which is water electrolysis, but using energy from nuclear. So while that is established, first let's talk about the challenges. Making reference to what Dr. China said, part of the challenges that we have, especially in Nigeria, for low carbon hydrogen is the cost, which is like very, very expensive in comparison to, high carbon hydrogen, which is like gray or black. The cost is still very much a barrier, which is why, most people are not really talking about it. And then also there's also like a social awareness and acceptance gap, which exists. Most people do not really know about hydrogen. I don't know how many hydrogen professionals or experts we have on this call, but there's still a lot of knowledge gap and that exists in the hydrogen space. And I'm glad that from personal experience, more people are beginning to get interested in the conversation of hydrogen, because not just Nigeria that is looking in the case of hydrogen, but also is like a global issue, because people are trying to transition towards hydrogen. So that is another problem. Another thing that is a problem of hydrogen is the safety aspects that people, and that's because of lack of information, as IDG rightly stated, because most people are like, oh, hydrogen is very dangerous because of it is odorless, and so even when there is a leak, you can almost not detect it. But that is, there are ways to go around it, and because of the information gap, people do not have. So they feel like hydrogen is very, very dangerous. What are the opportunities? So I'll talk about the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. Some of the opportunity that exists, okay, when you're talking about the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan, the energy mix that was listed there, I'm glad that hydrogen, was part of the energy mix in the Energy Transition Plan. So that's like a step in the right direction, which we can also like utilize. And then also talking about hydrogen, green hydrogen as a low carbon hydrogen source, we can produce green hydrogen, and Nigeria has the potential in terms of available land area, high solar potential, and also water resources. Let's talk about blue hydrogen for a moment. In the Energy Transition Plan, they placed natural gas as the main gas that's going to use for transition. So, and blue hydrogen can be produced from, natural gas. So that is also like an opportunity for Nigeria to, key into the hydrogen space, especially for blue hydrogen. Then for pink hydrogen, I wouldn't really say that we can, tap into that for now, because there's still like a scoping study, which is like still going on, and Nigeria intends to like produce up to 4,000 megawatts of electricity from nuclear, but it's still like under consideration. So that's also one part we can also look at. So how do we overcome these challenges that exist? First thing I would say is partnership. And then how do we partner? When you're talking about the low carbon hydrogen, so it's like you're having an entire hydrogen mix, because in low carbon hydrogen, you have green hydrogen, you have blue, and you have pink. So we need like all stakeholders, on board. So let's start from green hydrogen. What do we need to produce green hydrogen? We need water, we need renewable energy, electricity. So who are the key stakeholders to identify? Maybe you need people from water resource center or, institute. And then for renewable energy, electricity, we have the renewable energy agencies. These are people that need to come on board. Now let's go to nuclear. We have the Nigerian Nuclear Regulation Authority. And these are people that we need to bring on board. And then talking about blue hydrogen, you need gas. And then this is where like the Nigerian Gas Association comes in. So we need all of the stakeholders, to come on board, and then try to collaborate and see how we can move the low carbon hydrogen economy in Nigeria forward. And then, as Ayodeji stated as well, we need like a dedicated document, just like we have the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan. If you want to talk about net zero 2060 in Nigeria, the first document you'd want to refer to is the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan. So we do not have a specific document, though hydrogen is captured in the Nigerian Energy Transition Plan, but we do not have a specific document that we can refer to when we want to talk about low carbon hydrogen or even green hydrogen in Nigeria. And when we need investment or things like that, to talk, they would the first thing they would investors will want to ask is, okay, what binding document do you have to show the potentials that you have, and like a roadmap. So we need a specific document for that, and then we need to address the safety concern about hydrogen. Maybe I should just talk about this a bit. So in order to address the safety concern, I'm very well aware that hydrogen is odorless, and then but there are also things that we can do to. There's like a gas detection machine that you can attach to hydrogen plants that works with pressure, and it will give like a warning sign when hydrogen is when it detects a leakage. So these are things that people do not really know about. And then also there is also an issue of following instruction, just like natural gas or solar. every technology comes with a manual, and if you can follow the manual diligently, then you'd have little or no problem. So just like every other energy source, hydrogen as well has its own concerns, and if you follow the manual, the safety precautions and everything, we should, yes. So I think that should answer it.
Yeah, that gives us a good answer. Thank you very much. So I would like to call on Mr. Engineer Sulu to talk about the German, Mr. Ayodele mentioned this. So please talk to us about the German-Nigerian Hydrogen Office. For now, we know that they are spearheading the dialogue on low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria. Does this imply a level of monopolization like one of us has mentioned here? And what's the impact of this on the hydrogen ecosystem in Nigeria?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I make my comments on the issue of the monopoly, I think I will like to say one thing. I mean, the issue of the low carbon hydrogen, I think relatively is new. It's a compromise because the emphasis before was on green hydrogen and not S. But because of the energy challenges Europe faced in recent 3 years, we came with that pragmatic approach to accommodate other forms of hydrogen, and that's how the low carbon hydrogen came into being. Yes, I would like to add the white hydrogen to the list of the low carbon hydrogen. Yes, but looking at all the 4 of them, there are issues for Nigeria. That is one. 2, the central theme of the webinar, that is low carbon hydrogen Nigeria progress or destruction. I want to say that every technology started as a distraction, but continuous efforts and having your strategy right, they become progress. So, but I think the point for us now in Nigeria is to isolate what cannot work, to identify what can work for us. If it is only one form of hydrogen, that one form of low carbon hydrogen can work effectively for Nigeria, we should concentrate on that, but not just going for everything. Now, the issue of the monopoly. I think I've been associating with the German-Nigeria Hydrogen Office since beginning of 2022. And from what I can see, there is no monopoly. The ecosystem, the hydrogen ecosystem is open for everybody. Okay? Yes, in the contrary, the office, I think it was created by request from the Ministry of Power to the GIZ when the ministry learned that the GIZ, the German government, had opened 1 or 2 hydrogen offices in other countries. So they came to Nigeria because of that request. And since their major support is to support Nigerian government in creating awareness about the hydrogen. And I think they produced 3 documents so far. One is on policy, one on regulation. I mean, trying to see from the available regulatory documents, what are the spaces or what are the provisions that where hydrogen can be accommodated and where are the gaps. And also they've made market assessment, and I think, and then their counterpart, that is the German-Nigerian Chambers of Commerce, also they produce another report on off-taker. So I don't think that they are monopolizing the ecosystem. But I think the issue is Nigeria. How do we get the best from our partnership, from development partners and other countries? So I think this area Nigeria has not been doing right. The MD, the ministry, the agencies and department of the government, they have not been very active in this. So, but as I've said before, Energy Commission of Nigeria trying to not just going blindly into the whole issue about hydrogen. The first is we are trying to understand the technology, the trend, and see what is best for Nigeria. Then the Ministry of Power is working with, the Ministry of Power is the national focal point for Nigeria in the ECOWAS system. And ECOWAS, as we've had, has developed the ECOWAS hydrogen policy and ECOWAS hydrogen strategy, 2 documents. And the Ministry of Power is the one participating in all these discussions. So currently, it is the Ministry of Power that is leading the process. The next stage is that these documents are supposed to be domesticated, but unfortunately, up to today, it has not been. From my interaction with the ministry, with the staff of the ministry, just 2 days ago, that they are still working on it. And personally, I intend to meet the director in charge to see how we can work together and get these 2 documents domesticated. Now,
Okay.
yes, the challenges on, the issue of how do we overcome this, I have 3 suggestions, which have been made before. We'll get our, to actually go into as a nation, to go into this technology, policy and strategy is a must. And that is 1. 2, the policy or the strategy need to concretely designate some government institutions as the lead agency in, if it's regulation, there should be a lead agency. If it's a policy, there should be a lead agency. If there's another thing. So, a number of institutions need to be designated with concrete action plan and budget to realize that. And then lastly, another suggestion is not to see the development partners being working on multiple things. I think it is, since the Ministry of Power is the one that requested the German government to open the office, the Ministry of Power should be able to deploy a staff of the ministry on secondment to that office to work there every day with the head of the office and other staff of the office, so that concretely they can, whatever the office is doing, will be in tandem with what actually the Nigerian government needs. Lastly, just to emphasize it, I know the head of the place will do communicate. As far as I know, I think there is no issue of monopoly, but it is only the government of Nigeria that needs to show more activeness in our partnership with the development partner. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have actually gone ahead to take on the second question, because I wanted to ask you about the ECOWAS hydrogen strategy plan that was drafted in 2023 and how it will affect Nigeria. So you have mentioned that we need to domicile this in our own country and put in our own specifics to this. So I'll go right ahead to Ms. Aisha again. Looking at our technological capacity in Nigeria, you also have mentioned 3. You mentioned the blue, green, and pink hydrogen. So looking at our technological capacity, what do you think we should go for first? Or do you think we should take them all at the same time? Engineer Sulu is of the opinion we should focus on one, choose one that we want to focus and develop. So what are your thoughts? Are we developing them all at once? You mentioned pink, blue, and green. Engineer has added white to that. So we have this 4 as a low carbon hydrogen. What's your thought on this?
Okay, thank you very much.
Why you're telling us that take into consideration our technological capacities as a country?
Okay, so I wouldn't dwell much on white hydrogen because I don't have any information about white hydrogen being discovered in Nigeria yet. I only know of Mali in West Africa, so I'm not going to dwell much on that. So for pink hydrogen, like I earlier stated in my first discussion, we do not have, that's pink hydrogen, I'm talking about nuclear. So there's still discussion about, the production of 4,000 megawatts of electricity by 4 units of nuclear power plants, but that is still ongoing, so we cannot focus on that for now. So we'll shift that to like a later something. And then for green hydrogen as well, even if we have the potentials in terms of the solar, in terms of the available land areas, it is still very much expensive to implement right now, though there have been a lot of good work by the H2 Atlas, doing like a scoping study about the potentials and everything we need to know about green hydrogen, particularly in West Africa and even Nigeria as well. So we're in a transition phase, moving towards net zero by 2060, and which is like captured in the Nigeria Energy Transition Plan. So I would say for a start, we can focus on blue hydrogen, because since natural gas is the main transitory fuel, then it is best that we focus on blue hydrogen, and because it involves the use of natural gas and steam methane reforming. And then for the technological part, steam methane reforming, has like a technology readiness level of 9, which is like fully adopted globally, and we can use that in Nigeria because we're still a developing nation and we cannot afford to use any technology that doesn't have a technology readiness level of up to 9. Like, we cannot gamble it by using a technology that has a technology readiness level of, let's say, 5 or 4. So we need a technology that is fully advanced, because we do not have the capacity, to gamble with new technology. So we need to focus on technology that are already developed, such as steam methane reforming, and we can do that with natural gas to produce blue hydrogen. So I would say focus on blue hydrogen for now, while keeping green hydrogen in the pipeline, because it's very, very important that we focus on green hydrogen as well.
So what are your thoughts on the investment and technological lock-in that are some of the risks that people see in focusing on blue hydrogen?
The risk? So
Yeah.
can I take that?
So what do you say about this risk of technological investment lock-in that might occur if we focus and start developing blue hydrogen, which is some risk that people have mentioned around Nigeria moving still with our gas and focusing on blue hydrogen?
So my focus is that we should focus on blue hydrogen because we have like a large amount of natural gas, but we keep green hydrogen in the pipeline because that is what the world is looking at, and that is where most of the investment, would be going to. So we cannot afford to say we want to focus on green hydrogen now, because it's not something that we can use immediately. Firstly, because we do not have enough technology to, utilize green hydrogen. We don't have green hydrogen powered cars in Nigeria. We don't have green hydrogen fueling station, but we have a fueling station, which is like from natural gas. And then we have natural gas pipeline, which can also be used when we eventually decide to turn to green hydrogen. We can also use this existing natural gas pipeline to transport green hydrogen. So we focus on blue hydrogen for now, while importantly keeping green hydrogen in the pipeline, because we also need to focus on green hydrogen.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ayodeji, I can see your hand up. Please go ahead. Thank you, Aisha.
Yeah, so to speak to that, the last question, one of the challenges and risk that might come in is we are seen as a greenwashing nation. So that's one of the risks that we stand if we focus just on blue hydrogen. However, like Aisha said, it's important that the energy transition has a geopolitical strand to it. And at the base of the energy transition, every nation would stick to what works for the nation. When COVID happened, we have seen a lot of Western nations saying, let's go away from gas. But, I'm not going to mention the name of the country, but the largest economy in Europe started approaching gas-powered nations majorly, for them to find gas. So it's important that we understand that energy security is a big thing when it comes to the energy transition in itself. every country wants to fight for its own economic growth and independence.
Yeah.
So I think that that's one of the challenges. Also, another challenge is that when we begin to think about this, we begin to think about blue hydrogen now. We begin to think about do we have the funds to go into carbon capture? Quite expensive. It's actually quite expensive. Do we want to do that? And for how long are we planning so that it's not just an investment that we make without properly thinking about it? So those are the risks that we need to think about. And also, how do we achieve our net zero goal? It is going to move us towards achieving our net zero goal. So those are risks that we stand the chance of falling into. However, I would say this, as a strong advocate of green hydrogen, I believe that one of the things Nigeria should stick to right now is blue hydrogen. So yesterday I was doing some policy advisory with an organization, and the way we were looking at the energy transition was now and 2030, because there is now that you first have to deal with, and then you now need to think about the future. So we need to think about our now, maybe say in the next 3 to 5 years, and then we think about 2013 to 2050. So we need to plan for that simultaneously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eddy. So back to you, Engineer Sulu. What measures are being taken to promote research, innovation, and capacity building in the field of low carbon hydrogen in Nigeria? I know we are doing something as a commission, but what other measures are being taken?
Thank you very much. I think nationally, I don't know of any national agenda concerning R&D on hydrogen generally, or low carbon hydrogen. But I know there are individual researchers in the academia and research institutes that are doing that. And one of it, I think there is a researcher in a federal university in I got a grant and is working with a number of people. And I learned that in University of Nigeria in Nsukka, I think they have a small electrolyzer they're about to produce. They're about to produce a green hydrogen, something like that. Yes, but I want to suggest that as a nation, we can have a look at what is happening in Namibia. Like the government of Namibia established Namibia Green Hydrogen Research Institute in the University of Namibia. The institute collaborates with both the government and private partners, international academic and research institutes, and conduct research. The interesting area researches in 6 thematic areas. The first is a clean hydrogen production or low carbon hydrogen production. The second thematic area is storage, new materials, and delivery. Then the third one is fuel cell technology and mobility applications. The fourth is energy use, the economics, law, environment, and society. Then the fifth is capacity building competence and standards. And the sixth is digital and emerging technologies as it concerns green hydrogen and related matters.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I also know that Namibia has even gone ahead and they actually have a green hydrogen commission. So we have case studies.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
in summary, my suggestion is the national policy and strategy should be able to come up with this type of framework that we identify after our deep study from what my co-panelists have said, making assessment of where are we now concerning pink hydrogen, blue hydrogen, green hydrogen, and white hydrogen. Yes, white hydrogen has not been discovered in Nigeria, but what we can do in terms of white hydrogen is to go into, trying to prospect. Is it available anywhere in Nigeria? That is what that's why I brought the issue of white hydrogen in. So when we do the analysis of all this and isolate what is workable for Nigeria, then we have to come up with thematic areas for researches and assign research institute, universities to go into concrete area and also have a way of coordinating and working to them with synergy. At Energy Commission of Nigeria, what the committee I'm heading, what we want to propose is that under the Energy Commission of Nigeria, we have 6 research centers that are university-based. So we want to come up with also 6 thematic areas in line with the mandate of each of these research areas so that they can go into it. For example, University of Lagos were the National Center for Energy Efficiency and Conservation. So that center, I think it can work on storage, new materials and delivery. The same center, I think it can work on a number of things. Then other center, they look at what is the thematic area that is also in line with their core or primary mandate and be doing research in here. Not just one place, they are doing research across everything. So I think this is to promote research and development in low carbon hydrogen. I think this is the suggestion I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think Namibia is also a very good country to study because they actually do have a green hydrogen commission already. So they are a bit ahead of other countries on green hydrogen development. I would like to call on Mr. Adedeji Adetoye. What are the current initiatives and projects underway in Nigeria for the development of low carbon hydrogen? Do you know of any initiatives and projects underway, and can you discuss?
Thank you, Adiola. I really appreciate it. And thank you for making this platform for us to all learn. I think I'll first start from the energy transition side, and I'll also go towards the monopolization of hydrogen and gas before I put that question. The first key thing about an energy strategy for Nigeria tends to be like this. As an investor, I come from the business part of it. Without a strategy, without a policy, without a regulation, you can't drive investment into the country. We should all know that. That tends to like kickstart off with regards to investment coming into the country. What are the policies? What are the regulations with regards to that? That should probably we should all know about that. And that's one of the key areas in which is limiting hydrogen growth within Nigeria. Then with regards to the Nigeria Hydrogen Office, I've worked with them. I've been actually on almost all their programs. And I could say there's no monopolization in there also. With regards to, they've done a lot of, they have made key tasks within Nigeria. Is one, to create awareness with regards to hydrogen. Second one of it is particularly to do as a technical partners with Nigeria personally to be a technical partner, intends to lead, intends to guide, intends to in terms of policy making and the likes, which we've done a lot of that. And according to my knowledge, as at the last administration for this country, there tends to be a networking group in which it was even created with regards to hydrogen, but we don't really know how far it all went. So coming back to initiatives in Nigeria and also how we could move on from there. One of the key things we should all know also that hydrogen is not new in Nigeria. It's never new in Nigeria. I've been to Egin Power Plant. I've been to Ogere, in which utilization of hydrogen has been currently in use and with utilization. So I'll start like this, and I'll tell you, hydrogen is not anything in Nigeria. It's not a new technology in Nigeria also. And be it hydrogen and hydrogen derivatives, I think we should know that. And hydrogen derivatives, that's when we talk about ammonia, we talk about methanol, we talk about the likes. So, and also moving down to hydrogen particularly, because as the main subject of today, in Nigeria, as of today, Nigeria tends to utilize almost 2 million metric tons of hydrogen annually. Quoting from there, it tends to be a gray hydrogen, not blue, not green, not low carbon, as we all stand right now. But that is the statistics of what we have presently in Nigeria. We tend to consume or utilize or produce and use almost approximately 2 million metric tons of gray hydrogen as of today. in sectors like, I know probably people might be asking like, is that really true? What is really happening with regards to that? In sectors, particularly in the aspect of power generations, oil and gas and the likes. Like for Egbe power plants tends to produce hydrogen, and which is from electrolysis, and they tend to like use it for coolant of their power plants. In terms of oil and gas also, we tend to have a lot of utilization of hydrogen and hydrogen derivative in terms of ammonia, methanol, and also using it as a reducing agent with all these oil and gas feeds. So moving forward, we want to know like we are here to see development from sectors like aviation, shipping, steel, cement, and mobility, like all developed worlds are doing, and probably tends to bring on board. And that's because we don't really have an energy strategy that was going to compile and also mandate it for them, like, oh, these are the areas in which you have to do in terms of decarbonization, in terms of deforestation, in terms of sustainability of each sector and each industrial deal. And that's why, as it stands right now, hydrogen strategic plan is so much one of the major key things in driving hydrogen in Nigeria. So let me also say this, that we have seen some pilot projects, even in the aspect of green hydrogen. We have one in which is done around the Oasis. I might not be chance to mention of the company, but which I even see yes to fast refinery decision investment. There are some key also projects also happening in Akwa Ibom. And also as it stands right now, as of this year, NNPC and I think BLT tends to like come into food production of 10,000 metric tons of methanol here in Nigeria. Furthermore, we're also expecting the plants from methanol plants in Nigeria, which is in Bayelsa. We want to know any moment from now. It's set time for utilization is in 2024, which will start full operation also. So such also tends to become on board as time comes up. And some current applications of hydrogen in Nigeria tends to also goes with regards to petroleum refining, ammonia, fertilizer production, power plant cooling, as I also said earlier. Industries currently in Nigeria utilize ammonia and methanol. Such companies are, for example, they tend to like use ammonia, methanol, and oil refineries also. Example of such companies are in the case of ammonia, I think I know of Indorama and Dangote, which they tend to like make use of hydrogen in terms of production of methanol and ammonia. Also, I know of Trascorp, Ughelli, and Egbe power plants that make use of hydrogen for their coolant of their power plants. And also we could see some, I think in terms of oil and gas sector, we tend to like see a lot of utilization of hydrogen come from Dangote and virtually all of our refineries as of today. And then those are the key areas in which we could see, which tends to like make use of 90% of gray hydrogen out of the one in which I mentioned earlier. You could see other places coming from pharmaceutical company, we see food processes. Those are the main areas in which hydrogen are being basically used within Nigeria as of today. And we are also hopeful to see major drivers in these applications and also in sectors to come, which I've just made mention of. I also know that some other speakers are also alluded into color types and also energy transition plan. There's a lot in which apparently is going on within Nigeria right now with regards to even an audited energy transition plan. We tend to like come on board with implementation strategies in which we go about all of this. But as of today, I could just attest that a lot is coming on board, a lot is even still going on with regards to hydrogen. And one of the key areas in which we will have loved, in which majorly hydrogen can really be fed and really be used in Nigeria, has to do with the aspect of cement, steel, transportation, even maritime.
Okay.
So
Thank you,
I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, I have another question for you. I want you to talk about how the existing energy infrastructure supports the production and the distribution of low carbon hydrogen. So our existing infrastructure today, can it support, and if it can, how?
Okay, thank you for that question. Let me also start like this also. In production of hydrogen, we should all know hydrogen tends to come within three key pillars. One, additionality. Secondly, it has to do with the geographical correlation. How does it really facilitate with that? And the third one has to do with time matching. That's to ensuring renewable energy is used when generated. Those are the three key pillars in which we should all know. when it has to do with hydrogen utilization, usage, and production, and also with infrastructure development, so as not to like contest against energy access in the aspect of green energy, in the other of green hydrogen, so as to like contest with energy access. We see a lot of developers within the country right now, tends to like do a lot of mini grid projects. But those are the three key pillars in which we should first consider when we have to go with this key area. I will repeat it again. Additionality, it ought to come as additionality, ought to come with the geographic correlation, and the third part has to do with the time matching parts. And also, however, when matching demand also with supply, as in the case of Nigeria might be, existing infrastructure might not be of much significance with what we're really talking about. I know IODG and also Aisha also talked about the safety parts. There's a lot of safety in which goes on, and those are the key areas in which things have to like probably be done also. There's infrared detector in which is mainly used for hydrogen and the likes like that. Let me just give you a clear analysis of this to just make people understand far more better with regards to the infrastructure in which we have and what we have to use in times to come. I was working with regards to feasibility studies and feasibility studies of some areas and geographical areas within Nigeria, and 2 areas within the southwest parts tends to come on board, which has to do with Ogun State and Lagos. Ogun State, as we all know, it has, I think, stated what's it called, 3 main cement factories within Nigeria. And so also has an industrial hub, the Agbara industrial hub. It's really changing in times now. Everybody tends to build recently, tends to look at that. And also within Lagos part of it, we tend to see the depots, Lekki depots part of it, in which that also has come in place. And hydrogen is one of the key main areas in which probably might work within this area in which I just highlighted right now. But one of the key parts in that area is, as we rightly heard from the first speaker, in which give us analysis of backable projects over Nigeria. In those 3 key areas, we tend to like come over like how well can hydrogen can be produced within those areas, and we tend to see areas like we tend to see how well can we work with it in terms of maybe offshore wind, solar, and probably a bit of hydro in those 3 key areas. And if you could see with this infrastructure development, you ought to see these are new ones in which have to come in place, not from the existing ones in which are there presently. So because it's just like we're trying to form an hydrogen valley tends to do with the production down to utilization. I know virtually nobody has already made mention of hydrogen valley, but that is what hydrogen valley is all about. Like trying to create hydrogen hubs in HHE valley and tends to like take it all together. That's why we tend to like look at the aspect of Ogun and Lagos states all at together. And also talking about hydrogen valley, there are 3 key categories of hydrogen valley in which we've done analysis by Nigeria. It's called the 3 archetypes of hydrogen. We have this small scale, which is majorly for mobility in terms of maybe 1 megawatts to 10 megawatts of electrolyzers installed capacity. We also have the medium scale also, which has to do with the 10 to 300 megawatts of installed capacity of the electrolyzer. And the last part of it has to do with the large scale parts, which is basically for export focus. And talking about export focus, I know I've dived a lot from maybe the preliminary stage to where we are right now, but I'll take it one after the other. For the small scale side, we tend also to consider areas like Niger State and a bit of Kebbi State. How well can we make sure we have infrastructures that can aid hydrogen growth, and also within those areas? Basically, we consider green hydrogen also in that part. And we tend to like take a look at it and see how well can we work with hydro power plants and solar, integrate the 2 together and see how well we can drive it. And then we could see like we could really get, because one of the key challenges is if you produce at Niger or probably Niger State or Kebbi State, how do you drive it down to Lagos for exports, or probably to Ajaokuta is still quite close for Mina. But what about Delta State company, which is in Delta State? And with regards to this, you could see, that's why we could see with regards to what is happening within Nigeria right now. I know in a matter of months, we tend to see a new energy transition plan, updated one, not really like a new one, an updated one that comes with strategies with regards to this. And also one of the key areas which will be also be coming in place will be the integrated resource plans also. We have our resources located or broadly scattered over the country, regionalized also. Our tends to bring everything all together and say, okay, this is the best use of this. This is how we approach this. And if you attempt to look at all those three areas which I've mentioned, like hydrogen valley, each categories of each ones, and how well you can put each other to use. You could know like Nigeria is also an underground work is being going on board. But one of the main issues which I have stated earlier has to do with the energy transition, energy strategy plan, which tends to like connote every other thing. Without the plan, we can't do anything. We can't grab investors. Off-takers can be mandated to take this. And without demand, there won't be supply. And with that, I may mention of steel, I may mention of cement company. If there's not like a policy, I know from the last COP, Nigeria tends to sign a document also which brings about the carbon markets over Nigeria, trying to like see how well we can work against it and bring about carbon tax and also bring about carbon market within Nigeria.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to move on to Mr. Engineer Sulu again. Sir, I would like you to tell us the ways low carbon hydrogen can contribute to Nigeria's energy security and economic diversification. And when you're answering the questions, sir, I would like you to also highlight the need for green hydrogen in Nigeria, because I'm getting questions on the chat around that. I know we have a question and answer session coming up, but I'd just like you to, when you're talking about Nigeria's energy security, economic diversification, and how low carbon hydrogen contributes to this, if you could also mention that. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I will start with the green hydrogen. The issue, the low carbon hydrogen, I see it as a transition to green hydrogen. Where we are going is green hydrogen and white hydrogen, where the carbon is almost close to zero. Okay? So that is where we're going. It's from what I've heard, I think we need to identify where in Nigeria the areas of application, the uses that there are other substitutes to hydrogen, like in mobility now. Electric mobility and hydrogen-based transportation, these are two substitutes. If we have that potential, or we have the opportunity, or all what it takes to be 100% electric without the hydrogen, I think this is a possible option. Why I'm saying this is from what we've analyzed, to produce green hydrogen is still very expensive. And again, at times, even it is not technologically wise when you produce the green hydrogen to use it for certain things. Okay? So therefore, I think we need to do a very serious study assessment to see where it's a must that there is no any other option except to use green hydrogen. We need to identify this type of things. Where we have other options, and those options are more competitive than green hydrogen, we should go for those options. Now on diversification and energy security, yes. One, the world is a global village. When a law or regulation or rule is set globally for everybody, there is no there's nothing we can do it to affect us. For example, in terms of import and exports, already some export commodity have been marked in some country that they are not acceptable in their country because they are not compliant with certain things. So a time is coming when some things produced using grey hydrogen will not be accepted in other countries. So meaning that now we have to take the issue of low carbon hydrogen and green hydrogen seriously for some of the export commodity to be acceptable in this country. So doing this is a way of diversifying our economy activities, and also ensuring security of what we are doing. In terms of the direct impacts or association of green hydrogen to energy security, also I think this one is relative. Why is it relative? For electricity, there are other means and other combination energy mix we can adopt in ensuring our energy security. For example, we have the hydro. We develop our hydro in large quantity, and we have our solar, our wind, and all these things. So appropriate combination of all this one can give us a secure 24 hours electricity without relying on green hydrogen to produce electricity when solar or wind is not available. So these combinations are there. Okay? So we can ensure this security by having appropriate mix. Then, roughly, I think these are the 2 points that comes to my mind. So the other thing I wanted to say before is the policy and the strategy that Nigerian hydrogen policy and strategy. I think we should have a distinct policy for local markets and a distinct policy and strategy for exports. Okay? Because the needs and all these things and the type of enabling environment that need to be created are a bit different. And especially at this initial stage, where government need to subsidize or come up with a number of subsidies to entice the investor to come in. I think there is need for that, and the cost of hydrogen is not yet competitive enough. So I think we need a distinct policy and strategy for the local market to develop hydrogen for the local market, and then we develop the hydrogen for the exports. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ayodeji, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so why does Nigeria need to, I saw the question, apart from doing follow, why do we have to look into low carbon hydrogen? So yeah, the issue is that there is a global energy transition and Nigeria cannot be left behind. Now, when we think about the global energy transition, we begin to now look into, okay, so how does that affect us? First off, a lot of countries have already started saying that, in fact, there are policies that have been put into place now that countries should stop producing internal combustion engine cars, so maybe petrol or diesel engine cars. So it means that, now note that most of the cars we use in Africa are imported. So it means that in coming years, we will not have the luxury of importing those cars, or we would, and at best case, we would be taking what their country does not want them to use in their country. So so that then informs us that we need to think proactively. So we need to begin to think of what will happen to us in terms of our transport. We would need transport that can use maybe electric vehicles and maybe ones that can use hydrogen. So other implications that now comes into play, even outside transport, is okay. A lot of infrastructure in the global energy landscape are now beginning to would shift, not at beginning, but would shift with the outlook of things, would shift into low carbon energy. So maybe use hydrogen or maybe use electricity. And we know that one of the best use cases of hydrogen is even in transport and also the chemicals industry. So it means for us that we cannot afford to be left behind. So it's not just a we doing follow thing, it's a matter of our national security. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a matter of our national economic security. So it affects us because what happens to the global stage trickles down. You can't say it doesn't affect you. It affects us. Also, we don't want our natural resources to become not useful, right? So we need to make use of them. We can make use of our gas to produce blue hydrogen. So yeah, we don't want to be left behind, something like that. It's very important. I know it sounds simple, but it's actually very, very important.
Thank you, Mr. Ayodeji. While you're still speaking, can you talk about the role of international partnerships in advancing low carbon hydrogen sector?
Well, we need international partnerships for research. We need international partnerships for funding. We need international partnerships for institutional development and even strategy and development. What we don't need international partnerships for is our willingness to work. If the energy transition is complex and it's a war, it's an economic war. So we need to be smart as a country. And that's why when we are not taking action, I'm concerned and I'm surprised as to, is it that we think these countries are playing with us? No country is actually playing with any country. Every country is fighting for its own economic prosperity. Now, I understand that it's important that we collaborate with people. Like I said yesterday, I was having a strategy consultation, and Africa was one of the countries we spoke about because it was for a developed economy wanting to, have partnerships with developing economies in terms of their critical minerals. And I was saying that it's important that this developed economy approaches this African country in terms of having partnerships, not as just we trying to help you while we also help ourselves. But there is a mutual understanding that this is going to benefit both countries in the long run. So it's important that we establish partnerships in terms of our research. There's a lot that can still be done in terms of research, a lot that can still be done. But one of the things that pains me the most when it comes to research is that we are not even making the best use of our local talents. Okay, so this is what I think. I think that when we think of funding, we see a lot of international countries saying we are making available $10 million for students in developing economies to come and learn in our country. Do we think they are dull? They are not dull. It's actually a strategy. So let's not do $10 million. Let's even do $2 million and give our students, just our master students, give them maybe say 2 million and say, develop a study that just solves a small portion of our energy problem. That way, we are already advancing our own research. But, well, we really enjoy paying experts. That's why they say expatriates. We bring a lot of expatriates. So I'm not against international partnerships. I think they are very important. It's important that we understand that there is a lot that we cannot do on our own. Even international organizations bring experts from other countries to come and help them in some of the work that they do. So we need, back to what I was saying, but it's important that we first develop our own local capacity. Also, in terms of partnerships, we need partnerships for funding. There is a lot of money that we need. The financing aspect is not a joke. We can look at the EFGP and get some funds, and we see a lot of talking about hydrogen. The European Union actually has a dedicated bank for hydrogen, just a bank that is focused on funding hydrogen projects in Europe. So, we can look into partnerships in terms of maybe building something like that in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a lot that we can explore in terms of partnerships, institutional development, setting up things the way it has been similarly set up. But I want to sound a note of warning. We cannot copy and paste what has been done elsewhere. It won't work. Talking about Namibia, the Namibia case, Namibia is different from Nigeria. Namibia is different. Namibia is not Nigeria. There are some things that Namibia has that Nigeria does not have. They have high wind capacity. We don't have that. They have a large expanse of land that we can't say we have. We don't have that. also their sun. We can say we have sun in the north. We don't have sun in the south. When you compare that to what Namibia has, we don't have sun in the south. So it's important that we look at what is being done and we think, how can we do the same in our country? That's how partnership should work for us. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for your contributions. So we have come to the concluding part of this. So I'd just like every participant to use 2 minutes and give us their concluding remarks. And I'll start with Ms. Aisha Suleiman. In 2 minutes, can you tell us what we're taking away from this seminar from you? Thank you.
Aisha, we can't hear you.
Okay, Mr. Ayodeji, since you are still here, can you just quickly give us yours?
Yeah, so I will say that low carbon hydrogen is important in the energy transition plan for Nigeria. However, there is a lot of strategy development that needs to be put into place. And I believe strongly that we can, if we decide to, we can, if we decide to. And we'll begin to see that our economy would grow more. We would have more stance in the global space. Because when you think about it, someone was saying that when Africans go to some countries and they disrespect us, said, is it justified? No. But why can't they do it? The question is, what are you producing? What are you producing that gives you strong power in the international stage? Low carbon hydrogen can be one of those things that Nigeria can give to the international community. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Aisha Suleiman.
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Can you just give us in 2 minutes your concluding remarks?
Okay, I'd like to say that since Nigeria has like the potential to produce low carbon hydrogen, we need to focus on that, just like Ayodeji rightly said. And I also want to comment a bit about how low carbon hydrogen can, impact our energy security and also economic diversification. So Nigeria, currently, we have like an energy access of a staggering 60% thereabout. So, and we all know that the energy density of green hydrogen specifically, it's like 3 times that of gasoline. So it's just like you need a small fraction to just, do the work that gasoline would even do and even more than that. Though we do not have the technology to use hydrogen in terms of maybe transport and but we can use hydrogen in like the industry and also the electricity aspect to generate electricity. We see what's happening in Nigeria now with the entire band A, band B, and whatever, everything is just being intermittent. And this is actually a time that we need to key into, low carbon hydrogen because of the potential that it has to solve most of our energy needs. And energy transition is not just if energy access is not combined with it. We need to transition to a clean energy journey, but we also need to ensure that energy access is going hand in hand with the energy transition that we're going. And then to speak about the economic diversification, how low carbon hydrogen can play a part in that. Though we do not have technology, like I stated, to fully utilize low carbon hydrogen in all aspects. In all aspects. But I would like to say that, okay, for countries like Germany, they have like a budget of, let's say, 9 billion. Like somebody's. Hello. Mr. Allwell, can you mute your mic? Okay, so I was speaking about economic diversification. So currently, Germany has about, let's say, 9 billion euros, budgeted for hydrogen. And then out of that 9 billion, 7 billion is budgeted for their internal, development of technologies that can, utilize this hydrogen, and 2 billion is set aside for, other countries that can, import hydrogen to them or say export hydrogen to Germany. So if Nigeria has the potential to generate low carbon hydrogen or green hydrogen in particular, and we don't have full technology to utilize it, we can also export. And the good thing is that we can use existing gas pipelines. I don't know how far the gas pipeline has gone now, but the aim was for the pipeline to go from Nigeria down to Maghreb region in Morocco, and then to Spain, and then Europe. So that is something that we can utilize. And then the money we get from this export, we can either use it to, develop technologies that we can use hydrogen in our economy, or, pump the money into other sectors of our economy. So it is important that we focus on low carbon hydrogen, because the world is moving towards green hydrogen and low carbon hydrogen generally. And if we don't key into it now, then in the long run, we might be on the losing side. So that's my contribution.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mr. Adedeji Adetoyi, can you give us your concluding in 2 minutes, please?
Okay, I'll be short. I will start by saying what tends not to change in the next 10 years, or probably by the end of this decade. There are changes around the energy system, there are changes around commerce, there are changes around environmental sustainability and energy security. If hydrogen started to come to play right now, we can't just ensure we have a low carbon hydrogen, no matter how we might be listed in, be it in our EPT or even our NDC, or even align the two together. But we just need a playbook in which tends to guide everybody on what to do with regards to hydrogen and utilizations and derivatives also. So that would just be my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Engineer Sulu, please, can you give us your concluding remarks?
Thank you. Hydrogen is an energy carrier of the future. We need to be distracted today so that we make progress tomorrow. Then the large consumer of gray hydrogen that have been identified, I think with time, the hydrogen strategy, policy, and regulation need to come with green hydrogen obligation for some of those large off-taker of gray hydrogen currently. And lastly, the other aspect which we didn't touch much in this discussion is the issue of the fuel cell electric vehicle. So I think it's another good technology, hydrogen technology, that can key into in Nigeria. So for the mobility sector, the fuel cell electric vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So thank you to all our panelists. It has been a very rich discussion. We've gotten perspectives from different angles and sectors. I'd like to just give a brief summary of what we are taking away. We are taking away that we have a need for a strategy, a national strategy on hydrogen, on low carbon hydrogen. Yes, we may not start right away, but we have to look into the future. So definitely we have to start thinking about what's our strategy and coming up with our strategy. And we are not doing a copy and paste. We are going to look at what is relevant to us in Nigeria. There's a need for research. The Energy Commission, we have identified that we can actually lead this research, especially with our 6 centers around the country. So we have that. The country has recognized the need for low carbon hydrogen in our energy transition plan. So we also have that. And we need to harness the partnerships we have. So the Nigeria Hydrogen Office is a good opportunity for partnership, and we should be more proactive in our partnership with them. So these are some of the key takeaways from this. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Marvin Malo to coordinate the questions. So if we have any pressing questions, the participants, we had only one question in the chat. So I'm handing over to Mr. Malone to now coordinate our question and answer session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Ms. Adeola. I really appreciate. Thank you to all our panelists, Ayodeji, Adedeji, Mr. Sulu, Ms. Aisha Suleiman. Thank you very much for your insights, and thank you so much for identifying the key areas and the key aspects that we need to make changes in the landscape, energy landscape in Nigeria. So we just have, diving straight into the question and answer session, we just have one question and one comment from our participants. And the question here says, apart from joining other countries to pursue net zero targets, what is the need for green hydrogen in Nigeria? All the countries we have referenced in this webinar have achieved steady electricity supply. Can we afford to channel our little renewable energy and electricity towards costly green hydrogen instead of powering homes? Yes, so the question can be directed, anyone can answer from the panelists. It's not, the question is not directed to anyone. So Mr. Adedeji, you can help us with that question.
Okay, let me just take the question. As I made mention of earlier, like when it has to do with hydrogen developments, there's three key main pillars which you have to consider. One has to do with the additionality. The additionality part of it tends to come as a new way of development, not going or probably contending with the old existing infrastructure which you have on ground. It has to be an additionality to our energy band in which we tend to have within the country. While the second part in which I have mentioned earlier has to do with the geographical correlation, and the third part has to do with the time matching. The time matching has to emphasize more about how well can we make use of our renewables when produced, and how well can we use it exactly at that period. And also for the need for green energy, we tend to like work towards our plan of ETP, which we have to do with energy transition plan, where we tend to like plan towards reducing our emissions in years to come, and also tends to like have a plan with regards to that. And within the ETCP platform, because I tend to like relate to them sometimes, but the two key areas in which they are looking at has to do with the green hydrogen and the blue hydrogen parts. Those are the two key listed parts. And as I said, in terms to come, we tend to see a lot of updated ETP plans and also strategies in which we tend to do in years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adedeji. So for the next question, we have two questions here already. Someone is asking, Mr. Mahmoud Ahmed is asking, at what level is Nigeria presently in the hydrogen technology, and what production capacity can we use in Nigeria? Any of the panelists can answer that question.
So I can go on that one. I tend to like provide the statistics earlier on when I was giving my intervention. Now, presently, hydrogen is not new to Nigeria. There's gray hydrogen presently in use in Nigeria as it stands right now. And we tend to use approximately almost 2 million metric tons annually within Nigeria as it stands right now. But we can't just continue on that path because we just have to cut our emissions, and also with us also relate with other countries. There's CBA tax outside the country, in which tends to like come across with what you export and your carbon intensity within your production and what you're exporting outside the country. So those are the parts in which we tend to look towards a low carbon hydrogen into our energy mix. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adedeji. We will dive right into the post-survey forms so that we can officially close for the webinar. The post-survey form will be shared right now on our screen. Please kindly fill accordingly. We need your honest reviews on the webinar that we have done. Please kindly fill accordingly. All right, thank you very much for joining the webinar. We appreciate, thank you to all our panelists. Thank you to Dr. China for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much to all our participants, our panelists, Mr. Adedeji, Ayodeji, Mr. Sulu, and also Ms. Harichatu for joining us. Thank you for sharing your insights and also your advice, and also your contribution to the energy landscape, I would also urge us to follow our social media handles. That also will be placed on our chat box. Please kindly follow our social media handles, our LinkedIn, our Instagram handles. This will enable us to engage more with our participants and also to hear from us. Please kindly follow our Instagram handles at Clean Technology Hub and our LinkedIn account at Clean Technology Nigeria. Also our X handle, and that is at Clean Tech Hub NG. Thank you very much for joining. We have come to the end of this webinar, but just before we leave, can we take a group photograph for reference purposes? Please kindly turn on your cameras so that we can take a quick group photograph. Thank you very much. We have come to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation, our speakers, our panelists. We appreciate very much, and also our participants. We appreciate. Thank you very much. Do have a great day.
Thank you.